Society. So, the UK Guardian had an op-ed about how environmental doom was going viral on the internet, on the interwebs, and how it became an excuse not to do anything, and that the science of environmental doom is wrong, and that if we take action, we can solve abrupt global warming. I'm gonna argue that this is what Noam Chomsky calls a false framework of debate. So the article never presented evidence of why the science of doom is wrong. And I had Allison McDowell promoting my research from over 20 years ago on something I called the actual matrix plan, and she corresponded with me a bit, and she said that that because of my political activism and working for environmental nonprofits, then she's not surprised that I realized we were doomed. And yes, that's what happened in 1996 when I was working for Greenpeace full-time. And I was discussing politics with my activist mentor, my activist mentor's parents at his farm in Minnesota, and his parents are biology PhDs, and they went to Berkeley, and they were part of the civil rights movement and in the 60s and the free speech movement, and then they got the Audubon Award for using the Endangered Species Act to stop a development in Minnesota to protect ecology. And they do a lot of wildlife rehabilitation work and biology, and at any rate, we had acquired quite a FBI file from our activism out of Madison, Wisconsin, which is pretty funny because, all we did was protest, like, with banners, and we did start doing civil disobedience, and I kept, even though I realized we were doomed, I kept doing activism and civil disobedience, and then I finished my master's degree and I got a job at environmental nonprofit. So in Minnesota, whenever you see these clean water legacy signs, that's due to the work that I was part of, working at Clean Water Action for 10 years. And my coworkers wondered why, I only worked there part-time while I read one scholarly book a day, because I was reverse engineering my meditation experiences, or trying to reverse engineer them back into science. And so then I discovered the conservation biologist Guy McPherson saying how, we're doomed. And that was around 2017, maybe 2016. And I just thought, well, yeah, finally somebody's coming out in public and saying it. But he had discovered the aerosol masking effect, or what's called global dimming. And so the problem is that science is too specialized. So his main critic is Michael Mann, who just co-published an op-ed article with Raymond Pierre Humbert. And Raymond Pierre Humbert was a physicist at University of Chicago, and now he's at Oxford University, and he has like 50 peer-reviewed published articles on, and he's authored or co-authored on abrupt global warming on Earth. And so Guy McPherson has been promoting the Mirs Project as a way to a last ditch effort to delay the heating of Earth. But Raymond Pierre Humbert's argument is that if we campaign for the policy of the Mirs Project, or any kind of solar geoengineering, or what's called the albedo, what does he call it? Albedo engineering, or something like that. Manipulation or whatever. So that would take away from our effort to reduce carbon emissions. And Raymond Pierre Humbert's emphasis is that any kind of carbon emissions will stick around for 10,000 years in the atmosphere, because it takes that long for the geology of Earth to absorb the carbon back into the sedimentary rock. And so his point is that if we use the Mirs Project as a solution, then we're gonna pump out another 1 trillion tons of carbon emissions, because we're going to be focused on creating the Mirs Project. And currently the U.S. spends about $40 billion a year on global warming initiatives, whatever that means. But obviously, again, the focus is to reduce the cause of the problem, which is the CO2 emissions. And so the Mirs Project would need $50 billion to be effective for the planet as a whole. And so the point being that, we just keep increasing the CO2 emissions anyway. So if we set up this Mirs Project effectively, we would keep accelerating the CO2 emissions while also, so then we would have to accelerate the Mirs Project to counteract the CO2 emissions. And then, so the point being that if there was any problem with the Mirs Project over 10,000 years, then the atmosphere of Earth would be doomed even worse, and what he calls terminal shock. So in other words, if there's any kind of disruption, it would be a shock that's terminal. And so do we really want to put the future of Earth in that kind of situation? Because we will have already emitted the CO2 emissions that will stick around for 10,000 years. We'll have emitted another trillion tons of CO2. So that's the debate among the global warming scientists. And so the doom science is essentially when you consider the aerosol masking effect, which is what the Mirs Project is anyway. It's a geoengineering that any attempt to reduce the CO2, as Guy McPherson points out, will heat up the Earth even more because of the reduction of the coal pollution, creating the sulfur as the aerosol masking effect. And so the science has proven recently that the aerosol masking effect is twice as bad as previously thought. So if there's a 40% reduction of sulfur particles, then the Earth will heat up another 1 degree Celsius on average. And the other factor is that the temperature of heat has been, the goalposts have been moved forward so that the real origin should be the pre-industrial temperature, which means that we're actually much warmer on the planet. And then there's the East Siberian Arctic Shelf methane hydrates that are in the gigatons and exponentially releasing into the environment as the quote-unquote methane bomb. And then there's the over 240 zettajoules of heat that's been stored up in the oceans since 1995. So oceanographer Jim Massa emphasizes that 1995 was the crucial year when we became doomed because the oceans have been accumulating over 90% of the heat of global warming ever since then. So the science of doom is not wrong. The UK Guardian and the doom scene is not saying don't take action. It's just saying that there hasn't been action. The U.S. military budget is $1.5 trillion a year when you consider the spending on veteran payments and past debt payments for the military. So that's compared to some $40 billion spent on global warming initiatives. And so the problem is that, as Guy McPherson points out, that civilization's based on entropy as a heat engine. So the entropy it is increasing, and this is the gravitational entropy that Roger Penrose talks about. So the point of civilization is to decrease the entropy of matter, which can be, we can think of entropy as so-called randomness of information that creates, dissipates heat. And so most scientists, they don't even recognize gravitational entropy. They have no idea what it is. And Roger Penrose points out it originates from noncommutativity. And noncommutativity is the secret of non-Western meditation, of the spiritual training of our original human culture that spread around Earth, the San Bushmen. So the doom of science is, the science of doom is correct, and the solution is to do Om, up the yin-yang. That's what I had a book published with that title. Because that's the best thing we can do, is to replicate our original human culture that lived sustainably on Earth from 100,000 years ago, until the creation of farming after the last ice age, the Holocene warming period. But physiologically, we're the same as we were from 70,000 years ago. And so we should just embrace our physiology of doom, which is to live based on the gravitational entropy as the gravitational potential energy. Even most of the scientists, they have no idea what noncommutativity is. The doom scientists, the global warming, the geophysicists, they don't discuss this at all. But Raymond Pierre Humbert, he would know what it is, since he knows the quantum physics of global warming. He knows that it's logarithmic, so that each logarithmic increase of CO2 causes an exponential increase of heating on Earth. And so we would have to, Mother Nature is the one taking action, since humans are part of ecology on Earth. And so Mother Nature is rebalancing the energy of Earth as the gravitational potential energy or dark energy. And so there's not even a discussion of all the scientific factors involved in the doom of ecology and abrupt global warming, because the media is a corporate business, and science is funded by the aristocratic elite foundations. So the